Every day, Amir took the subway to work, but one day he noticed an unlikely passenger among other commuters. It was a dog. At first, he thought the dog was with someone, but the animal was all on its own. Amir's curiosity was piqued. Where was this dog going? What did it want to do? Welcome to Wonderbot Animals. Amir usually drives to work, but his car was at the workshop that day, so he decided to use public transport. He wasn't very familiar with the subway, but he certainly didn't expect what was coming that day. He saw a dog patiently waiting with the people at the station, and as soon as the subway stopped, the dog jumped inside. No one noticed it except Amir. What was going on with this dog? That day, Amir tried to find the dog in the subway, but before he could, they arrived at his station and he had to get off. At first, he thought the dog was just an aimless wanderer looking for something to eat, so he tried to forget about it, but that wouldn't be the end of the story. The next day, he had to take the subway again, and he was shocked to find that the dog was there too, and he was waiting for the train just like everyone else. Over the next few days, Amir would continue taking the subway to watch the dog, even though his car was already out of the shop. He just had to get to the bottom of it. Was the dog a stray? Had someone fed him on the train so he learned to get in hoping to get some food? Or was it something much more serious? Not every day was the same though. On one occasion, Amir saw some people pushing the dog and pulling it out of the carriage with some disgust. He tried to stop them, but they managed to kick the dog out of the train and the doors closed. The poor dog stayed behind, running in a circle. Amir noticed the dog was behaving strangely as the train started to move away. It seemed like he was disoriented, and it seemed the dog was anxious for the next train to come. The next day, Amir brought some delicious dog kibble with him when he left for work. He waited at the same subway station, and it wasn't long before the dog appeared. He was a little dirtier than usual, but his brown coat was unmistakable. The dog accepted the kibble and wagged his tail. Amir was happy to be able to help the little dog, and he had no intention of stopping there. Seeing the dog so happy made Amir realize that he didn't know what kind of treatment the dog endured from strangers. He was worried about that, so he decided to call the authorities, who directed him to a local animal shelter. The staff at the shelter was baffled by Amir's story, and they decided the best course of action would be to catch the dog and try to find an adoptive family for him. But the mystery of where the dog went every day was still there, Amir reminded them. It could be that someone was waiting for the dog at another station, or maybe he was watching over a puppy. The point is that they had no idea why the dog was so intent on catching the train every day, so the shelter staff decided to try something else. But before we find out what that is, please give this video a like to help it reach 7K likes and subscribe to the channel. After some thinking, the animal shelter staff decided to put a tracker on the dog to see exactly where he was going. It wasn't easy to gain the dog's trust, but with Amir's help, they succeeded. Now, they just had to wait and see where the dog would go. When the staff checked the locator after a day, they couldn't believe it. The dog had taken a very long walk around the city and no one knew why. In the following days, the dog's routine was the same. He traveled for quite some time, and then, in the evening, he returned to the station where Amir always found him. At that point, someone from the animal shelter staff decided to follow the dog on foot to find out where he went every day. The man immediately discovered valuable information. First of all, the dog's name was Boji. Locals seemed very familiar with him and took photos of him traveling not only on the subway, but also on the ferry. It was clear that the dog was very smart, and he knew how to use public transportation. Based on the information from the tracker, they knew that Boji made 29 stops a day, reaching a distance of 27 to 30 kilometers or 16.7 to 18.6 miles. That's so impressive. Boji, despite being a stray dog, is a cross between Sivas Kangal and a sheepdog. At the shelter, they ran all the routine checks, and they discovered that he was in great shape and had been neutered. That means the dog had a family before living in the streets. The man from the shelter staff discovered that Bodhi made a lot of stops because he went to different establishments to get food. It turns out he had a lot of people who loved him and helped him in small ways every day. Chris McGrath, a photographer for Getty Images, found out about Boji through Twitter. Netizens had started posting selfies with the dog, who now also has his own Instagram and Twitter accounts with thousands of followers. Chris decided to go to Istanbul to see the dog in person. He followed Boji for a day to see where he was going, and he photographed his adventures. It was like nothing he had seen before. Boji knew where to go, and he always seemed like he had a purpose. It was also clear that the dog was a beloved member of the community. Chris even photographed Boji on his way to Prince's Island over the weekend. To get there and back, Boji took an hour-long ferry ride, and he seemed so comfortable. When he boarded the ferry, he knew where to go, and he enjoyed lying in the sun. When the ferry started moving, he barked at the waves. City workers who were familiar with the dog told Chris that Boji seemed to appreciate the different engines of the vehicles he rides in. For example, Boji liked to sit near the engine when he rode the ferry because he liked the vibrations. When he's on the subway, he sits near the wheels for the same reason. But how does a stray dog find enough food to survive on the streets of Istanbul? Being a stray on the streets is dangerous for any animal. So what makes Istanbul different? Well, the difference is that there are many stray dogs and cats in the city, so people are used to them. Moreover, the city has a program that protects and helps strays. For example, they run sterilization programs, provide food, and even offer emergency assistance services. Boji never has a hard time finding food because he knows where to go. Chris realized that some people place water and food bowls in corners of restaurants or homes. Boji knows where to find them, and that's how he stays well fed. The people of the community also protect Boji, especially when he encounters rude people. For example, Chris saw that Boji walked into a restaurant and two men started shooing him away and yelling at him. Suddenly, the owner of the restaurant starts yelling at the men. "That's Boji! Don't shoo him away, he's a celebrity now!" And people in the community aren't the only ones who have a soft spot for Boji. Municipal employees are also familiar with the travelling dog and care a lot about him. Since Boji became so well known, the municipal employees started taking him for regular checkups at the vet. It's a way to help him maintain good health, and it's very kind of them. They have also taken Boji to the groomer and even boot camps to keep his behaviour in check so the dog can continue to be a positive part of the community. The community came to love Boji so much that they set up small kennels for him in the subway station he always comes back to so he can have a place to sleep. He also had a collar. Since people became aware of Boji and his strange habits of moving around on trains and ferries, the interesting dog has become a global phenomenon on the internet. He has more than 79,000 followers on his Twitter and Instagram accounts, and he receives love from all over the world. Boji has become quite a symbol. Commuters in Istanbul know that if you happen to spot Boji, you smile and seize the moment to say hi to him. What do you think of Boji's story? Have you ever seen a dog travelling on his own? Let us know in the comments. Also, don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. Bye for now.